a long enough story, I suppose, but it's grounded in sport. Like, I played professional rugby with Munster for a number of years and retired with a hamstring injury, so that started my pathway into the other side of sport and being on the other side of it with as a nutritionist. So I did my studies and did my masters in applied sports and exercise nutrition, and I suppose along that time I was starting to work with teams as well, so I got involved with Cork football here, Cork hurling as well, but it's very much around, you know, nutrition with individual athletes, nutrition with teams, Cork GAA, Tipperary hurling now as well, and a lot of my time is spent up in Cork. I'll probably answer that question differently over time, because at the start I would tell you that it was fine. I dealt with it was grand, and as I kind of sat back and reflected on it, it gets tough at times still. Like, you know, it's not that it's very tough, but you start to wonder, your mind wonders, and you know, that's something that you have to control from time to time as well. Like, you watch a certain match or you watch people getting on well and you're like, geez, where would I have fallen in those ranks if I was to be able to still go on, like, you know. But at the same time, you know, I don't dwell on it too much either, because you get reminded fairly quickly someone else gets let go, or, you know, something happens to a person, and that could easily be you at a different time as well, like, you know. So being back involved in sport and being able to help other athletes is a huge part of something that I get a lot of satisfaction from. I think as a player, I was very black and white on these things. I was very structured, very detailed, and my philosophy has probably developed over time in terms of looking at it from an overview first, and you know, going back towards like general habits, consistency, planning your day, being organised. I think that solves a lot of problems. So you have to do things, you have to turn up every day to a degree. You know, if you don't get things right all the time, just get you know, if you think you made a mistake, just get the next thing right. And that could be coaching, or it could be your day-to-day eating, or it could be the way you manage your day. You know, we don't all get everything right all the time. So trying to be a bit more empathetic there as well. But, you know, you do have to build certain habits over time and keep showing up, whether that's, you know, making your own food, organising your day, having stuff at home in the fridge. I don't get it right all the time, but like, that's what we're trying to do, and that's my philosophy on it. I was told quite early on, I think I was still playing at the time, you know, healthy people are high-performing athletes. You know, so that's something that every athlete can strive towards. So whether it's just, you know, waking up and doing the foundational stuff the same as a healthy person would, you know, in most cases, have a breakfast, have a big meal in the morning time, sustain that energy over the day, get your protein sources in, have enough fruit and vegetables. That's going to be the same for every athlete. You know, eating regularly, being organised, it's going to be the same for everyone. Whether they play a very high intensity sport or a long low intensity sport, it's going to be the same thing. And then you build on top of that. So whether they play rugby or GAA, or the demands get higher or more intense or longer, or marathons and ultra marathons, you obviously build your fueling on top of that then as well. There's no point in having a fueling strategy without being a healthy person first that can turn up day to day. So being uninjured and healthy and not sick is the basis of it, and then you can add your layers on top of that as well. A lot of people come into me and say, I don't know what to eat and when, and it's just a wide open question. You know, let's start. But people worry a lot about details, about timing of things, and you probably have to settle that down a small bit and get to the basics of what we're trying to do every day. Get enough food in, you know, maybe have your food far enough away from training that we don't feel poorly in training. You know, that's a basic requirement for anyone before they even start thinking of the details of nutrition. You know, so some of the questions will be very much around what they've heard on TikTok or social media and snippets and without context. So you're trying to straighten that out a small bit and give them a lot more context around what they think they've heard, what it might mean to them in their own context, and it might change for a different person, a different context, different sport, different fueling, different activity, different day-to-day activity. You know, so trying to give them more context around what that question might mean, why they're asking it, and then try and give an answer that's more suitable for them through that. The biggest thing for me is looking after what you can focus on in the minutes before training, the minutes during training even, and then the minutes after training. And a lot of it comes down to nutrition, fluids, food. You know, that's a big part of your recovery. So, you know, first of all, if you fuel well, you're going to be in a better state for your recovery afterwards as well. So fueling is the first part of recovery, and there's a bit of a cycle there with recovering well is the next part of fueling. But then you get onto refueling afterwards, which is a different word for recovery. For me, it's very much around your nutritional strategies, eating well before you get to training, having enough carbohydrates in your diet, having carbohydrates and protein mix after training. When is your next meal coming? Do you need something in between to bridge that gap? So then all of a sudden you're getting into potential use of a supplement like a protein drink, an RTD, ready to drink protein shake, maybe a recovery powder if it's needed. A big thing for me is that players understand that when they're going to training they need to eat, when they're leaving training they need to eat or drink, and then you can layer on as well the movement, the recovery practices from different disciplines. But I've got my head in the nutrition and fluid side of it as much as possible. Yeah, when we're looking at performance, some of the supplements that we use and some of the supplements we put into the dressing room would be very much based around carbohydrates, maybe some creatine on their day-to-day intake. And then in the dressing room, maybe before matches, you're looking at things like carbohydrate gels, caffeine gels. So when you look into that, performance is very much based on fueling and putting yourself in the right headspace as well to unleash everything you've practiced onto the pitch. So if we're going to do that, we want to have enough energy to do that as well. So carbohydrates are a big conversation when you're dealing with athletes and sports teams. Yeah, how creatine works really, it's a supplement that we use to supplement energy levels at a high intensity basically. So when you are doing things like heavy squats under a bar or heavy presses in the gym, or you're running at maximal speeds and you're trying to repeat that, you're eating into your creatine stores in your muscles. So when you supplement with a creatine supplement, you're helping to replenish those stores quite quickly to allow you to do more work, and a lot more work at high intensities. And when you back that up and you do more efforts and you do more reps in the gym, or you might add some weight to a bar, that's where you start to increase muscle mass, increase strength. As a byproduct of that, maybe you affect your body fat positively, but it's very much so around the performance of repeated high intensity efforts, whether that's in the gym or on the pitch. I think the most recent thing that I'd be shouting about is that it takes time, and you need to figure out your own strategies and stick with it for long enough that you get the effects. A lot of people judge that performance effect just before it's about to happen. So sticking with it and being consistent day to day. Performance at a high level doesn't just happen because you put in 2 days effort or 2 weeks effort. And that's a big thing for me. Even when you go through nutritional strategies, we'll go straight into have a breakfast, protein sources throughout the day, eat your carbohydrates, eat your fruit and veg. But if you do that today and not tomorrow, and you do it the next day and not the following day, what are you really at? What's your efficiency? What's your effectiveness? So for me, it's getting buy-in over time and being as consistent as possible over time, and even working on that consistency to make it even better. But again, it's effort plus consistency over time is my big thing.